September 22nd, 1999. Rostov-on-Don, Russia. An ordinary morning. A retired woman named Tamara Chitsakova was getting ready for a routine visit to the clinic. She sipped her tea slowly, stepped outside, and stopped dead in her tracks. Right there, on the children's playground across from her building, lay a body. A man. His face beaten, his lips split open, and sticking out of his stomach, a katana, a Japanese sword. The victim was later identified as Stanislav Antonov, a former police operative who had worked in the Rostov region during the 90s. But what truly disturbed investigators wasn't just the weapon. Pinned to the man's chest with an ordinary office thumbtack was a playing card, the Queen of Hearts. When detectives arrived and secured the scene, one thing was immediately clear: this was no ordinary crime. This murder had a message. One of the lead operatives, Alexei Lobarev, recalled his first reaction: the killer had deliberately left a mark. But what did the Queen of Hearts mean? In Russian criminal culture, the suit of hearts is often associated with women and love. The card could signal a crime of passion, jealousy, betrayal, revenge for a woman. Investigators had seen cases before, where men were beaten or even killed over a woman's honor. Was this one of those cases? They had no idea yet that this card was only the beginning. The victim, Timur Sachenko, born 1971, a finishing worker, temporarily unemployed, married with a daughter. His address, 8 Klubnia Street, apartment 30, not far from the crime scene. Detectives found his passport and an open bag. No money, no valuables. Was this a robbery? But then, why the elaborate staging? Why the katana? Why the card? Now, to understand why a Japanese sword even existed in 1999 Rostov, you have to understand the era. The early 90s in Russia brought something unexpected. Alongside economic collapse, a martial arts craze, cable television and underground cinemas flooded the country with American and Chinese action films. Movies like Rumble in the Bronx and Mortal Kombat became cultural phenomena. Jackie Chan, Chuck Norris, Christopher Lambert, these were the new heroes. Martial arts schools exploded across the country. Basements, old sports halls, former community centers, all converted into karate, kung fu, judo, and aikido clubs. And right alongside those clubs, vendors sold everything a wannabe warrior could want: nunchaku, bow staffs, shurikens, and katanas. So the weapon itself wasn't a total mystery. But who wielded it, and why, that was still very much unknown. Detectives moved to Sachenko's apartment to search for leads. When they arrived, they found the door slightly ajar, a key still in the lock. Strange sounds coming from inside. They drew their weapons and entered carefully. Inside, they found a man, who turned out to be a neighbor from the floor above. He'd noticed the open door, called out, got no response, and walked in out of concern. His story checked out. He was released. But someone had clearly been in that apartment the night of the murder. The television, VCR, and stereo system were gone. When detectives reached Sachenko's estranged wife Olga, her reaction was cold. "Look at that face," she said. "He gambled away all our money. Serves him right." She explained that Sachenko had been a compulsive gambler. He'd burned through one paycheck, then another, then a third. He'd even pawned his wedding ring at a casino. That was the last straw for Olga. She filed for divorce and left. Gambling halls in 90s Russia were everywhere. Slot machines sat in bars, diners, grocery stores, even bus stations. For those with more money, casinos operated out of restaurants and hotels, complete with poker tables, roulette wheels, hostesses, free drinks, and live entertainment. Most of these establishments were owned by organized crime, and they had a strict policy: no debtor walks away free. So a new theory emerged: Sachenko owed money to the wrong people. The Queen of Hearts was a warning to others. This is what happens when you don't pay your debts. Investigators tracked down the casino where Sachenko had been a regular, the Everest. Waitresses there remembered him well. He'd arrived one night with a bag full of dollars, ordering champagne, tipping lavishly. Then, within 2 hours, he lost everything. He borrowed a large sum from the casino, promised to repay it quickly, then showed up the next night asking for more time. Detectives noticed 2 security guards at the casino, massive men, nearly 2 meters tall. More importantly, they had fresh wounds on their knuckles. Suspect 1, Sergei Uritsyn, born 1968. Casino security, black belt in karate. Suspect 2, Tigran Karakyan, born 1965. Casino security, former paratrooper. During questioning, both men stayed tight-lipped. But forensic analysis told a different story. Traces of blood and skin found on Sachenko's body matched the guards. Cornered, they admitted it. Yes, they had beaten Sachenko. But they hadn't killed him. They'd roughened him up and thrown him out. Surveillance footage from the casino's hidden cameras confirmed this. Sachenko staggered out into the street, hailed a passing taxi, and drove away. And here's where the case took a sharp turn. Forensic experts released their findings on the murder itself. The katana blow had been delivered by someone left-handed. Height, approximately 160 centimeters. The angle and depth of the wound pointed to a short but forceful attacker. Neither security guard fit. Both were nearly 2 meters tall. Then another lead surfaced, footprints inside Sachenko's apartment. Size 41 shoes. And the pressure pattern suggested the person who made them had a limp, favoring their left leg. A few days later, detectives noticed a suspicious man loitering near the crime scene. When he made eye contact with one of the operatives, he turned and walked away quickly, then broke into a run, with a noticeable drag in his left leg. They caught him. Denis Skachkov, born 1958. Unemployed, no fixed address. Nicknamed Prygun, the jumper. Height, 168 centimeters. Left shoe size, 41. He was terrified. He immediately asked to write a confession, but not for murder. For robbery. Skachkov admitted he'd found the keys in Sachenko's discarded bag, checked the address in the passport, and gone to the apartment to steal. But when he arrived, Sachenko was already dead, the katana still in his stomach. As police searched his hideout, they recovered the stolen TV and VCR. But Skachkov gave them something far more valuable, a description of someone he'd seen leaving the scene. Short, thin, wearing a hoodie, walked like a kid. I didn't see the face. Skachkov was charged with theft. There was no evidence connecting him to the murder. Then came the second body, Anatoly Grigoriev, born 1971. Taxi driver, married, 2 children. He'd been beaten to death with a baseball bat, multiple heavy blows. And on his forehead, a Queen of Hearts. 2 murders. Same card. The cases were immediately merged. Forensic analysis showed the first blow had been struck upward, consistent with an attacker shorter than the 180-centimeter victim, someone around 160 centimeters tall. And here's what shook the investigators. Grigoriev and Sachenko had been childhood friends. They'd grown up in the same neighborhood, known to everyone around. Then another detail emerged. Both men had recently come into significant money. Grigoriev's wife said he'd sold a car, a burgundy Ford, a gift from his father-in-law. He'd placed an ad in the newspaper and found a buyer within a day. But when detectives checked the current issue of the same paper, the same car was listed for sale again. How was that possible if it had already been sold? In 90s Russia, car scams were rampant. Sellers would modify vehicles, roll back odometers, tint the windows. And some, more brazenly, would sell a car, take the money, then steal it back, change the plates, and sell it again. Detectives traced the Ford. It was parked near Sachenko's apartment building. They found the supposed buyer in the hospital's intensive care unit. Victim, Marina Nesova, born 1949. Owner of a dry cleaning business. Unmarried, no children. From her hospital bed, she described what happened. 2 men showed her the car, then robbed and beat her, taking all her money. She identified Sachenko and Grigoriev. The pattern was becoming clear. These men were running a car fraud scheme, selling the same vehicle repeatedly, then robbing their buyers. Could one of their victims have decided to take justice into their own hands? Was the Queen of Hearts a symbol of revenge for a woman they had wronged? Detectives began searching for more victims of the scheme. Then the third body, Vladislav Pichagin, born 1971. auto mechanic. Married, no children. Found dead in a garage near his home. No signs of violent trauma. Beside him, an empty bottle of expensive gin. Toxicology confirmed it. Methanol poisoning. The methyl alcohol had entered his bloodstream, reached his brain, and shut down his heart. Pichegin was another childhood friend of Sechenko and Grigoriev. The same circle. Someone was working through a list. A kiosk vendor on Severnaya Street remembered selling 6 identical decks of playing cards 2 weeks earlier to a young woman in dark glasses. 6 decks. 3 were already accounted for. That meant 3 potential victims were still alive. Detectives dug into the criminal histories of all 3 victims. Pichegin, it turned out, had a prior conviction for rape. He'd received a suspended sentence of 2 years. Sechenko and Grigoriev had appeared in the same case as witnesses. And there was a 4th name on the witness list, Dmitry Kasatkin. Detectives rushed to find him. When they explained that someone was killing everyone connected to that old rape case, Kasatkin broke. He told them everything. 10 years earlier, graduation night. 7 classmates gathered at an apartment whose parents were away. 4 boys, 3 girls. One of the girls was Karina Asakina. Karina had graduated with a gold medal. She was the top student, a literature Olympiad champion. And she was quietly, deeply in love with Sechenko. That night, she wasn't drinking. She never drank. But one of the other girls began secretly pouring alcohol into her lemonade. As the night wore on, someone suggested strip poker. Karina refused to play. So they helped her, by force. And then the assault happened. Karina's parents tried to seek justice. But the justice system failed her. Pichegin received a suspended sentence. The others faced no charges at all. Unable to bear it, her family moved her to Germany. A new country, new surroundings, hoping a change of scenery might help her heal. It didn't. Doctors confirmed she would never be able to have children. She attempted suicide. Her parents pulled her back, again and again. 10 years later, Karina received an invitation to her class reunion. Her parents begged her not to go. She went anyway. She was tired, she said, of hiding from herself. At the reunion, she watched her former classmates laugh and celebrate. Families, children, lives moving forward. When she approached the men who had assaulted her and tried to speak about what happened, they told her to forget it, not to bring up the past. They didn't apologize, not even close. That was the moment she made her decision. Karina Asakina, born 1972, 5 feet 2, left-handed. Her teachers had spent years trying to correct it. She had been planning carefully. She knew Sechenko had loved martial arts in school, so she bought a katana, framed as a gift. The element of surprise did the rest. Grigoriev, the school bully, got the baseball bat. Pichegin, who loved to drink, she gave him a bottle. Each time, she left a Queen of Hearts. She knew the card would lead investigators to her faster, but she wanted them to understand. She wanted her attackers to understand, before the end, exactly why it was happening. Police found Karina in a small hotel in the city. She didn't resist. In her room, 3 more decks of cards. She confessed immediately. During her confession, she said something that stayed with investigators for a long time. If any of them had shown remorse at the reunion, if even one had said sorry and meant it, none of this would have happened. Psychiatric evaluation declared Karina Asakina not criminally responsible. She was committed to a secure psychiatric facility, where she spent 5 years in treatment. Those who worked with her said she didn't improve. If anything, she got worse. On top of the decade-old trauma, she now carried something new. The memory of 3 deaths. Nightmares. Flashbacks. A mind that had already been broken. Broken further. As the detectives closed the case, one of them said something that summed up everything. No one has the right to take another person's life, even when the cause feels just, even when the system failed. Because in the end, the avenger becomes what they despised and loses themselves in the process. Karina Asakina had been a victim. And then, in seeking justice that the law denied her, she became something else entirely. The Queen of Hearts had played her final hand. Justice is not always found in courtrooms. Sometimes, it lives in our hearts. If Karina's story moved you, subscribe to our channel and share what you felt in the comments. Every story deserves to be heard.